It's a crucial day in court for the man accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students. Prosecutors say they have DNA evidence on a knife sheath that ties Bryan Kohberger to those murders. But Kohberger's attorneys are asking that judge to throw that DNA evidence out, alleging that police violated his constitutional rights as they identified him as a suspect. I now want to bring in trial attorney and legal analyst Imran Ansari. Imran, as always, thank you for being with me. Kohberger's attorney wants that key DNA evidence tossed. I mean, alleging police misconduct and investigative genetic genealogy violated Kohberger's constitutional rights. What's the chance that the judge actually throws this out?
Yeah, the defense have been attacking this evidence for quite some time now and really coming to a head today in court before the judge to see if he will suppress this evidence. What's the chance of him deciding in the defense's favor to exclude it? Well, if we look at precedent, Markie, that this kind of evidence has been admitted in other cases before. So if we're going to look at other cases, prior motions to preclude this kind of evidence, they have not typically been granted. So we expect that the judge will allow this evidence in, but in the event that he decides to preclude it, it's going to be a massive win for the defense, and the prosecution's case is going to be tougher because this is really the evidence that links Kohberger to the scene and the evidence that the prosecution used in order to build their case.
And so the defense's beef with this is that they used public ancestry sites, kind of like a 23andMe, right, essentially, to find this evidence or link him to the murders. What's wrong with doing that? Is there anything wrong?
From the defense perspective, it's a violation of Kohberger's constitutional rights. The evidence on the sheath of the knife that was collected at the scene of the crime, they matched that on the public ancestry database. We don't know which one of these platforms that they matched it on, but that's what led law enforcement ultimately to Kohberger. The problem with that potentially is that you have this ability for law enforcement to go to these public databases, search these databases and make matches on items such as DNA that is found on a crime scene like we see here. Now, the argument against that the prosecution have been arguing in this case is that there's no reasonable right or expectation to privacy when you have your DNA or a DNA of a family member that is on a public database and it's matched to a piece of evidence that is abandoned, such as the DNA on that knife sheath at the scene of the crime. So you're going to see these two competing arguments about this evidence. And I've said that there's been precedent before where some of this evidence has been admitted in court, but it's still rather untested ground in the sense that it's new technology. It's new technology that's being employed in prosecutions and law enforcement. And it's going to be a key decision from this judge as we see this evidence being used in other prosecutions other than the Kohberger trial.
Yeah, and man, would it be a nightmare for the prosecution for this DNA to be thrown out. Where would that leave them if the judge decided to, grant that request for the defense? I mean, the DNA is really their X factor, right?
Yeah, it would seriously weaken the case, if not ultimately destroy the case. And that's a very extreme description for the prosecution's case and the consequences if this evidence is precluded. But this is essentially the root of the investigation. It's what led them to Kohberger. And if you have a domino effect after this evidence is precluded, if it is, then you're going to see the prosecution's case sort of unraveling because they're not going to be able to connect the dots circumstantially with this forensic evidence from the scene to Kohberger to the crime.
Yeah, we know this murder trial is set to take place in August, but there's been delay after delay. We'll see if that actually happens. Imran Ansari, thank you so much as always. Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.